introduction to this portion of our meeting. This is something that we've done. This is our second time now, I believe, we've done this. And we have our more experienced Toastmasters up here as our forum panel. And our audience members and guests can ask any questions you want to know about Toastmasters, something you might be wondering, how it works, anything you want to know. Or if you want to just ask Bob some questions about his interesting stories in Toastmasters, since he's been in for so long, I'm sure he has some very interesting things he can share with us. So this is a free-for-all open forum. Just kind of raise your hand, stand, and ask your question, and we'll answer them.
A question for Bob. I don't know if our late toasters ever did a reverse meeting, but I read somewhere on the internet that some clubs do a reverse meeting where they'll start maybe at this time and go backwards. And is that something that you're familiar with, or you were ever involved with a reverse meeting?
Yes, I've been involved with a reverse meeting, and it challenges your imagination because you have to start at the end when everything's all over and work toward what you really don't know yet. But it's a good mind exercise. It causes people to think. And that is one thing that Toastmasters does for you. It causes you to think. You have to think about what you're going to speak about. You have to think about how you're going to present it. And you've got to think about your dress, how your face looks, smiling, and the girls, their makeup. But it causes you to think. Anything that causes you to think is good for you. So anything you do particularly out of the ordinary, which causes you to think, is good.
And for the benefit of our guests, the way those meetings work, the speech evaluation will actually take place before the speaker ever gives the speech.
And actually, the awards will be
The awards are handed out also before. So it's a very interesting kind of meeting to attend.
You know, I just want to say an observation that I noticed about Bob is you can tell he's such a well-seasoned Toastmaster because one of the things a good Toastmaster can do is they can roll with the punches, so to speak. And if you notice, we at the last moment asked him to be an odd counter. And he said, well, I don't know your names, and I don't hear as well, but I can blow this whistle. And so rather than say, no, 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 I can't do it, he just rolled with the punches and came up with a way that he could do it. So I was just automatically, I knew, just a Toastmaster par excellence.
All right, Kelly, or Sinead?
For Bob as well. What is the one thing that you've gained from Toastmasters over the years that you've been in it?
What is the one thing?
One thing you've gained. The most important thing
Most
is
important, yeah.
First of all, when I was young and started, self-confidence.
Oh, good, yeah.
I don't care what you do, whether you're a professional, an amateur, or anything. Before you walk into the ring as a prize fighter, before you go into the baseball or football field, you've got to think ahead. You've got to be prepared. And Toastmasters trains you to be prepared. I believe that I'm so prepared that you could give me any subject and I could speak 2 minutes on it. I believe that. And you know why I'm at that point? Reduced all my fear. I know you are all my friends and are going to listen to what I say. And when you have confidence, people can tell that you have confidence, no matter whether you're a professional, whatever you do. So, like I said, don't look back, just blast ahead.
very good. All right, now Kelly?
Oh gosh, I got so involved in that I forgot my question. So, Mr. Udell, I heard that you have been evaluated by Ralph Smedley. And for the benefit of the guests Ralph Smedley was the founder of Toastmasters.
Yes.
And I heard that you had a very interesting evaluation from him. Can you tell us that story?
Yes, he was very interesting. Ralph Smedley, I joined when it was a very young organization. There were no women in it, and it was a very small organization. And we had a senior manual that was about that thick. But included in there were everything you had to fill out. And a portion of it, he wanted to see everybody be successful as a speaker. So he had you, there were green pages, I remember. He had you fill them out and send them back to him. And he would evaluate, and it was surprising how he could read between the lines and tell you generally what you have done well, and particularly what you could have done better. And along with that, every one of them, I had a lot of them sent in. They always said, do that speech over. Because that's how you learn. You take where you made errors, do it over, correct your errors, and blast ahead.
All right, any other questions from our audience? I did want to just take a minute to kind of go a little bit more in depth into how we were talking about the different sections in Toastmasters, how there's communication and there's leadership. There are two different tracks that you can work on simultaneously. The communication track has different speech project manuals. When you first start, you start with what's called the Competent Communicator Manual, which has 10 different projects in it. The first one being the icebreaker I referenced earlier. And then other projects working on how to organize a speech, how to use vocal variety, how to use your body and body language and gestures, how to use visual aids. So there's different projects with goals that you work on in that manual. The topic for the selection to speak on is entirely up to you. You hear some very interesting speeches on all kinds of different things at a Toastmasters meeting. Then once you've completed that first 10 speech set, there's advanced manuals that you can work on. What I try and do is pick one that's fun and one that relates to what I do for work. I'm working in one called Technical Presentations, how to give a really boring speech and not be boring. But then I have a fun, humorous speaking one that I work on for my other 5 projects. So there's all kinds of opportunities out there for you to work on in speech projects. And then the leadership, a lot of it has to do with being assigned a role. You research what responsibilities are for that role. Chris had the printout of what the timer was supposed to do today. He had read it ahead of time, came prepared for his role. It seems like a little minor thing, but that is actually helping you build leadership skills. Being the Toastmaster, leadership skill. Hosting and putting on a contest or an open house event, leadership skills. You don't think about it at the time, but it takes coordination and it takes leadership skills to do those things. So there's different levels on both of those tracks that you can work towards depending on what your own personal goals are.
Putting together an agenda. And there's leadership skills even beyond the club. And you know that because you've served as an area governor twice. I've served as an area governor and division governor. And then if we didn't have full-time jobs, we might even look to do things at the district level. But I got to tell you, our district is so large and so, I think, it's such a good district that most of our district leaders almost make a full-time job out of it, if you will. But the leadership, the thing I think also that one might want to be careful is once you join Toastmasters and become a Toastmaster, you're going to be called upon more and more often to give presentations and to take leadership roles. But you gain the confidence that Toastmaster Udell spoke about such that it's really not a problem. You can do it.